Hey guys, I have something that I feel is really critical that I want to share with you today. It might be uncomfortable. I know it's uncomfortable for me to really put this out there, but I feel that it's important for you, the viewer and the audience and the citizen, and especially if you are a parent of young children. This is really important information, and I hope that you will watch this and that you will share this. When I first got involved in legislation back in 2021, it was because of a horrific experience that involved our 14-year-old daughter and our family, and the inability for us to parent during critical moments. And I could tell you stories for hours and hours and hours of our experiences with Washington state's laws that interfere with a parent's ability to help their adolescent child. Between 2021 and when we finally moved in the middle of 2023, over and over and over again, we encountered different struggles. My twins were 14 in 2021, and between the two of them, they had a number of mental health struggles that stem from childhood trauma. And the laws in Washington state made it really, really impossible for us to help them, which was really the impetus for us deciding to leave the state, among a lot of other reasons. And so when I got involved in legislation, and in 2022, the biggest bill that was, I guess, the most important to me was ESSB 5883, which was a youth homeless bill, which essentially allows minor children to declare themselves homeless, or for people, caregivers, educators, whoever, to declare them homeless so that they can make decisions, important, critical decisions on behalf of this child. It was really a bad law, and the Republicans in both the House and the Senate put forth a number of different amendments that would require at least some kind of confirmation that these youth were indeed homeless, and the Democrats adopted zero of those. And since then, there have been more bills with each passing session. In 2023, it was Senate Bill 5599, which allows your kid to go to a host home or a homeless shelter to receive so-called gender affirming care or get an abortion with no notification to parents. There's also House Bill 1469 that was also in 2023, which is also called the Shield Law, which is really like a transgender trafficking bill and an abortion trafficking bill for kids, and doesn't allows people to bring kids into the state from other states to get these services. There've been just a number of really bad bills just in these last recent years, and these go on top of the laws that were in place in 2021 when all of this happened to our family. And that led me down the rabbit hole of going back into the years and the decades of laws, that it's, this web of laws that take away a parent's ability to care for their child and to protect their child. As a result, the mission of mine personally and conservative ladies has been to be very transparent and very honest with parents and citizens, not just as it pertains to family laws, but across the board. We're just average citizens trying to make sense of all of this garbage that's going on in the lawmaking process, not just in Washington, but it's in every state and at a federal level. And as I have dug into this, I've wanted to share it with people. I've been so fortunate to have so many great people come along and join this conservative ladies team, both ladies and men, that want to dig into it and share it with people and making it make sense to the ordinary citizen so that you guys can do something with it. You don't have to agree with us, and then you don't have to do anything with it. But in a case where you do agree with us, then let's all go be an army and be a loud voice together. And so that is really the sole purpose in what we do. One of the things that I have noticed since 2021 with everything that happened to our family is that a lot of people who have, I'll call them loud voices, influential voices, did not want to share our story, did not want to platform me in an effort to share our family's story. And that's okay. They don't have to. But over the years, it's become very obvious that that was intentional. And in a video I did a couple days ago, I mentioned that hope sells and reality doesn't. And you will see a lot of people on the Republican side and the Democrat side, both sides of the aisle, that are selling this hope and not necessarily giving people the reality that they need to know. So I want to talk to you today about Initiative 2081. This is also called the Parents' Bill of Rights in Washington state. This was a voter initiative that I think over 400,000 people signed. We, as an organization, encouraged everybody to sign it. I will be transparent with you, though, and let you know that no one from Let's Go Washington or any of the organizations that were running that initiative ever came to us and asked if we wanted to partner up. However, we did share it on all of our social platforms and in a couple emails I think we put out about it, because we did agree with it and we wanted people to sign that initiative. It's good for citizens, it's good for families. But no one ever asked us if we would be part of that whole process. But you probably saw, if you live in Washington state, you probably saw that every organization and group on the right was included in that process, but you probably didn't see the conservative ladies of Washington. That happens to us all the time. Most of these big groups in Washington, the well-funded groups, don't reach out to us to work with us. There's a club and we are not in it. And I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to get into the club. I'm okay with that, but I think citizens need to know, because a lot of times people will come to me or people on our team and say, "Hey, why don't you send this to Brandy Cruz, or why don't you send this to Jason Rants or Let's Go Washington or whoever it is?" Well, we're connected with all of those people and they choose not to platform us. They all know the story of what happened with my family. I've had several private conversations with Brandy Cruz. She knows my story and she's never invited me on. My story doesn't end with stay in Washington and fight. My story is very honest with other parents about the laws in Washington state so that you can do what you need to do to protect your child and protect your family. And unfortunately, that means if you can, you should leave the state. Or if you can, you should make a way to homeschool your child. You should do everything that you can do to protect your child from the government in Washington state, because there is no limit to what they will do to get these children. And people have a right to know that. Parents need to know that so that they can protect their child. That doesn't get donations. That encourages people to start looking at Zillow and maybe leave the state. It doesn't encourage people to throw in a few grand at, some organization or the GOP or whatever it is that are going to lead the fight. Because let's face it, the fight in Washington is very difficult. It's not going to be won this year. It's not going to be won next year. It is a decades long fight and it's going to have to be relentless and it's going to require strategy, which the right doesn't seem to have right now. And so that's kind of how this ties into what I want to talk about with the initiative. On Monday, King County Superior Court Judge Michael Scott dismissed the case of legal counsel for youth and children against the state of Washington for the Parents' Bill of Rights Initiative 2081. There had been a temporary injunction on this back in June that put a hold on a lot of the information that the parents could get, like medical records, mental health records, the really critical parts of the bill. And keep in mind that this Parents' Bill of Rights only applies to public education. It is not an across the board parental bill of rights. So if your child goes to the emergency room or something like that, this does not apply in that case. It's only within public school. OSPI Superintendent Chris Reichdahl put out a bulletin to superintendents and education partners on Monday afternoon after this happened, just letting them know about the dismissal. And He also mentioned in his announcement the bills that the legislature has currently proposed and the bills that are moving through the legislature right now. The three that he pulled out specifically are Senate Bill 5181, Senate Bill 5180, and House Bill 1296. Now, Senate Bill 5181 and House Bill 1296 are very, very similar. They basically repeal all of those critical sections of the Parents' Bill of Rights. Now, here's what's very interesting. These bills both have an emergency clause. So, that emergency clause does two things: it prevents the bill from a referendum, and it makes it take effect immediately upon signing by the governor. They could get these bills across the finish line and signed by the governor and in place this school year, before this school year is out, depending on how concerned they are about this. On Senate Bill 5181, it had a hearing, I think it was early last week, and then it went through executive session, which is when they vote to move it in out of committee. They voted it out of committee, but they put an amendment on the bill which added an emergency clause to it. So 5181 did not have that emergency clause, but when it went through executive session, Senator Claire Wilson, the prime sponsor of this bill, added an emergency clause to the bill. So that is very telling. And one of the things that I wanted to address in talking to you about this is that, the groups that have sponsored the initiative and even, the lawyers that have fought the bill, which is great. I think this is great work. It scares me to see people taking a victory lap and encouraging parents to take a victory lap. What we're seeing from the Democrats in Washington in this regard is they plan to repeal the Parents' Bill of Rights. If they can't get it done in the court, which they didn't, then they will do it legislatively. That is what they're going to do. And parents need to know that. We can't take this victory lap and rest on our laurels and kick our heels up and think this is a win. It was good, but it's definitely not a win. We have a huge problem in Washington state with the state thinking that they are the parent. And it's critical that those of us who understand what's going on, who see what's going on all sides of this, alert the parents, because most parents I know are busy, running their businesses, running their family, doing their life. They're not looking at all of these little details that go into lawmaking and into policy that impact their family and their children. And I hope that for those of you that are watching me, I hope that my story, and I'll link that below if you want to, if you don't know our story and you're curious about what it is, I'll link that below. But I hope that our story remains for you one of those things that happens to other people. I try to make my voice as loud as I can because I don't want any other family to have to go through what our family and what my children have had to go through. And my girls are now over 18, and the things that happen to them because of Washington state laws, them not getting to have the protection of their mother, has had huge consequences for their lives and has really made things more challenging than they ever needed to be for them. And I don't want that to happen to any other kids. And so I will continue to be as loud as I can and as honest as I can about this. But it is important that we tell the truth. I think it's critical that those of us who have a voice, who have the knowledge, use that knowledge to share truth and share reality with the people whose lives are going to be impacted by this. I don't do this because I want more YouTube subscribers or people to subscribe to our Substack or become members of Conservative Ladies or send donations. I mean, if you want to do that, that's awesome, because I and my team spend a ton of time on this work. We do it, though, not because we're trying to financially reward ourselves, but because we're passionate. We do this primarily as volunteers because we're passionate about this. So I've dropped a huge dose of bad reality on the citizens of Washington state here, and I'm sorry for that. What can you do? We always like to One of the things that's always been critical for me since I even started this as a Facebook group was give people something they can do, give people an action that they can take. I'm going to link below an action item for you to email your Washington state senators and ask them to vote no on Senate Bill 5181. So the next step in the process for Senate Bill 5181 is that it's in the Rules Committee right now, and then it should go to the floor for a floor vote. And that could happen at any time, depending on how fast they want to move this across the line. And so if you go, we've got a pre-filled out message. You can use the message that we have pre-filled for you, and you just put in your name, your address, and it'll go directly to your senator. That's through our Voter Voice program. You can also put in your own message. You can override our message and put in your own message, or edit it and do some kind of hybrid of both. But please let your senator hear from you. Let's flood their email boxes so they know that the citizens of Washington state do not support them interfering with families in this way. And I like to say it's not parental rights, because that makes it about me. It's children's rights. Children have a right to the protection by their parent. Sure, there are parents out there that need to have those rights removed, but there are processes and laws in place that do that. This is not something that we do across the board. This is America. This is a free country, and families have autonomy from the government. The state should not be the parent, and they have no place to interfere. So let's flood those email boxes. Let them hear from you. One of the things I always think about with this is I want them to be so annoyed when they see my name in their inbox all the time. So think of it that way. If you can just be sort of a thorn in their side. And I hope that this information is helpful for you. I'm not trying to call out anybody, but I think it's important that citizens know, because people often come to me and say, why don't you tell so-and-so? Why don't you tell this person? Why don't you work with that group? It's a club and we're not in it. I would welcome the opportunity to collaborate with anybody, but we stand by our positions, and we're not silent when we believe that something is important that citizens need to hear, even if it might get people to put their house on the market and get a U-Haul and get the heck out of Washington. We think people deserve to know the truth so that they can make an informed decision for their family. Please take action. Please share this information far and wide. Let all the parents of Washington state know. We appreciate your support. I know we've got a lot of new people that have subscribed to our Substack and our YouTube channel. We really appreciate you engaging and your support, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.